I recently did a video on Indra discussing why he was never some pre-six-pass threat, but arguably one of the strongest characters in the entire series. And so today I decided to then tackle the arguably even crazier character in Ashura, his younger brother, who may even be the strongest shinobi to probably ever live in the franchise, possibly. I kid you not, but sit back and let me teach you about Ashura, the son of one and predecessor of two god of Shinobi. Long ago, Hagoromo had defeated Kaguya and decreed that he is he who shall achieve peace and order, which lines up with his 4 databooks stating in his file that his favorite thing is the idea of balancing chakra to create peace and order, which actually then complements his description of Kaguya birthing 2 children, where in contrast he simply makes the note that he also had 2 children, which may allude to why when Kaguya had 2 children, they were basically full Otsutsuki, and even Hamura's descendants were too, although Indra and Ashura were entirely human, implying that maybe, just maybe, Hagoromo literally just created the 2 children, one born with genes possessing his powerful chakra, and one without it, according to Hagoromo, which then manifested in the most extreme manner, Indra being then probably the most talented character to ever exist, possibly being because, well, he was just outright created. Ashura, however, would then completely reroute his destiny for failure through the struggle of training, awakening the bodily chakra within himself, according to Hagoromo, which Obito had previously corroborated back in the summit, stating, quote, "The younger son had been born with the sage's body, granting him stamina and physical energy." In contrast to Indra, who, according to Obito, had been born with the sage's eyes, granting him chakra powers and mental energy. However, to understand this at a more intimate and fundamental level, stick with me as I break down some narrative to further navigate the power of Ashura and how strong he may have been around these younger points. So, going back to the summit, this is one of the first primary ideas of Indra and Ashura's reincarnation cycle being heavily hinted at, if not outright confirmed, with Naruto in the latter half of the summit arc telling his friends that he couldn't just kill Sasuke there, stating, "You can't just beat Sasuke by being strong. Now I know," thinking in his head, inside him too is ... where Hagoromo then confirms the thoughts of Naruto that yes, he knew deep down that during the summit, he and Sasuke had a bond beyond that of just rivals. And so there is a narrative connection to this 670 Hagoromo interaction concerning Ashura and Indra and the summit dialogues between Naruto and Sasuke. But moreover, Obito's explanations of how Naruto and Sasuke perhaps relate to all of this. And I want you to notice the descriptions of Indra and Ashura and how they grew in power. Indra grew through chakra powers and ocular prowess, relating itself through mental energies, and Ashura through physical energy and stamina that culminated at a single moment of awakening. And now let's notice, how is it that Sasuke and Naruto are growing at the time? Sasuke and Naruto had both been granted a new form an arc prior, with the 3rd databook stating Sasuke's stats are bound to grow, with even Viz Volume 45 calling the 2 amps both ever increasing, although you can get that without the statement. These being Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan amps, which awakened progressively in the form of mental energies, drastically deepening the darkness of his cold inner chakra, forming multiple Susanoo forms and MS abilities, which each time he did so. Whereas Naruto had gotten a massive amplifier through the awakening of Senjutsu in his chakra, increasing his stamina and bodily toughness. Notice how Indra and Ashura are described to have been growing from the identical means to that of Naruto and Sasuke here, hence its later tie-ins also being even more consistent. Yeah, so more than likely, it's not as though Indra awakened his MS, as I subscribe to that happening slightly later, or Ashura getting Sage Mode, but both had genetic inclinations towards these styles of growth and happened to grow in a similar manner. And so when Ashura, like Naruto, relied on everyone around him to attain the same levels of Sasuke, whether that's in Jiraiya helping him get the Rasengan or Kakashi the Rasen Shuriken, he became this threat rivaling that of his talented brother, awakening the bodily chakra within him. And Indra is described twice in Databook 4 to be so talented it was as if he had inherited all of Hagoromo's power from birth, with the anime stating that Indra was 10 years old using jutsu that Hagoromo couldn't. And since such manifested in the most extreme manner, to suggest that Indra, who is stated to be capable of overcoming any obstacle alone, the foremost of these being basically the succession of his father, actually may have been rivaling that of Hagoromo due to its extreme manifestation, which I go over more in this video, which you should watch after this. For this manner of speaking, it's crucial to know that Ashura, through this bodily awakening, becomes a rival to that of his brother, who manifested his talent in a more extreme manner than Sasuke, seeing as Hagoromo's literally talking to him in such a statement. And so, to say that both brothers were at least a pre-Six Paths Sasuke level is probably pretty consistent, if not a lowball, realistically. Ashura would then go on to get all of Hagoromo's power, which isn't meant to be semantically downplayed either, because after Naruto and Sasuke get their Six Paths Chakra, which is hailed as the greatest powers by the 15th anniversary guidebook for the manga, the two become fighters capable of replicating the power of even a prime Hagoromo himself, with Kurama himself actually denoting that Sasuke now, with his Rinnegan, is disseminating the Bijuu Chakra in this same manner as the old sage, but in reverse. And this level should actually be hyper consistent for Ashura when accounting for both the possible superior base state to that which Sasuke had, but he didn't just get, half of the distributed chakra like Sasuke or Naruto. No. When reflecting on this, Hagoromo remarks that, quote, this time he bequeathed power to both and it still ended up in failure. Just like when he bequeathed all the power to just Ashura, meaning that whatever amp you think Naruto and Sasuke got, let's just call it a 10, right? Ashura should be getting a 20, which would then enrage Indra, allowing for Zetsu to stoke those very embers of deep hatred into a hellfire of power, according to Data Book 4, likely awakening his MS and then matching Ashura, as we see in this clash after all of that, where Ashura is shown with a literal Six Paths avatar. However, what exactly do we know about that avatar? Well, for one, it's been hypothesized to be a Kurama-based Six Paths avatar. However, I would highly doubt this possibility, as while it does resemble some aspects of Kurama, like its basic animalistic features, it lacks any facial structure of Kurama, the host point for where Naruto stands in Kurama, with Ashura also standing in the belly, and it even has a necklace. So this is perhaps the original Six Paths triple-headed avatar that Naruto used to match Sasuke's Susanoo that took on a basically 10 Tails level amp through the dissemination of the Bijuu Chakra, where through Senjutsu gathering Kurama matched it, possibly alluding to Ashura having a sage mode intrinsic to his fighting style, but regardless, it is still much smaller than Naruto's, though still possessing true seeking orbs. This goes on to support the notion of Ashura being a peak Final Valley Naruto and Sasuke level combatant, having not only twice a Six Paths inheritance to either one individually, but also the triple-headed peak Naruto avatar. Ashura would then, according to Data Book 4, cross blades time and time again, but the flames of their conflict could never be extinguished. Their souls continue to reincarnate over and over. Meaning that Ashura, after getting this, level 20 Six Paths Chakra amp to a level likely far beyond either Naruto or Sasuke prior, would then instantly manifest a pseudo form of Naruto's peak form, but would then go on to fight with his rival brother for the rest of their lives, time and time again, to where passively at some older and more mature prime age, Ashura would basically passively reincarnate his chakra for thousands of years. Something that Final Valley Rinnegan Sasuke, who has declared himself as the strongest person in the world, knowing Hagoromo is there by the way, while preparing to take on some 10 Tails level amp, only believes he could do so actively through the power of his Six Paths Rinnegan. Whereas for Ashura, it was more or less just passive and not even predicated upon the Rinnegan, but pure bodily chakra and power. And now, I guess perhaps the most overlooked detail in the two brothers' lives I didn't really mention in my Indra video is that both the brothers at that hypothetical prime age state may have been monstrous. I mean, think about it. If we presume that both got their, level 20 amps or whatever, right? Ashura being directly Six Paths at age 20 and died of age, at like 50 or whatever, that's 30 years of pure war and combat with one another, with their reincarnation being indicated as a passive act through the chakra which they honed throughout their lives, with the raw kanji implying that it was chakra which they had raised to a finished state, whereas Naruto and Sasuke would go on to take on a few minor endeavors and battles over the course of like 16 years, to then battle and beat up people like Fused Momoshiki without their peak 6-pass avatar forms and amps from the Final Valley. So I mean, like, it's possible that Ashura, the strongest of the two brothers, went on to basically be the strongest shinobi ever in history. Although, admittedly, this is probably a bit of charity overload for Ashura, but it certainly is something you should be probably more open to accepting than saying either Ashura or Indra are mere Hashirama and Madara pre-6-pass rivals, etc. And even to break down the narrative a bit further for why this shouldn't sound crazy would be in how Indra and Ashura are meant to represent the meta archetype for Naruto and Sasuke, but instead in a much more hyper-polarized manner, where Sasuke was born with the power to go off on his own and Naruto had to rely on others to awaken the chakra within himself. Indra had all the talent, didn't need anybody in the entire world, whereas Sasuke did need some, like Orochimaru or Taka, and Naruto could go off on his own, such as in the first day of the war, for example. So Naruto and Sasuke are more or less just diluted versions of Indra and Ashura. So would it really be crazy to expect a full power, prime, hypothetical Ashura, who is quite literally the solution to the cycle of hatred and ideology, to be some sub-Ten Tails level opponent and not way higher? Which may also stand even more true since they have basically no anti-feats in the entire series, realistically. Some will often try to point to Hagoromo stating that Madara is no longer Indra's reincarnate and is trying to gain power like himself. And why Hagoromo is speaking of genetic proclivities here, I go over that in this video, which you do need to watch after this, but for here, I'll just debunk the Indra below Hagoromo or Madara scaling by bringing up how Hagoromo literally states 2 pages prior, quote, "Though Madara created a certain problem before he finished being a reincarnate, he stole some of Hashirama's power, and in short, caused the merging of part of Ashura's chakra with Indra's chakra, and resulted in the derivation of my own chakra's power." Talking about the Rinnegan, which alone proves that Hagoromo is talking about a power in the genetic proclivity for or possession of a given chakra quality. But more so, Madara is no longer Indra's reincarnate because he's a dead man. Duh. Indra is haunting Sasuke, not Madara. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that maybe an adult Naruto or Sasuke level prime Indra is likely, or do you go with the notion of him being a Final Valley Naruto and Sasuke rival, or for whatever reason, perhaps lower? Be sure to let me know in the comments below, or maybe even let me know if you guys would actually be interested in like a top 10 Shippuden ranking or something. If you learned something, then by all means subscribe. Shooting for 20k, so it would be greatly appreciated. And hype this video up so more people can see it, or simply like it. That goes a very, very, very long way. But more importantly than all that, may God bless you all. Love you guys.